Well, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome, world changers. Blessings, blessings, blessings to you and yours. Okay, so we are just here, just trying to set a few things up here for the live stream. Anyways, blessings, blessings. We're going to start with a few songs, and then we're going to get into the Book of Enoch. All right, so let's see if we can get this on the road here. Make sure you share the live stream, folks. Share, share, share.
If it is possible, take this cup from me. Not my will, yours be done.
Then Jesus said to the chief priests, captains of the temple, and elders who had come to him, "Have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs? When I was with you daily in the temple, you did not try to seize me. But this is your hour and the power of darkness."
Satan tempted Eve. Food was ready to be put back on the tree. I prayed, Father, take this cup from me. Not my will be done, let yours be done for me.
your hands I commit my spirit. Tombs, looking for his grave, and she found the place where they said the Lord did lay. She saw an angel, and he said, "What about the dead? He's not here, he is risen, just as he said."
They say it's far, they say it's near. They say one day it'll appear. But Jesus spoke, the truth is clear. The kingdom's now, the kingdom's here. Not in a throne of earthly might, not in a war, not in a fight, but in spirit, love's embrace. The reign of God is in this place. The kingdom of heaven is moving inside, not seen with the eyes, but known in our lives. Not built on the sand, not ruled by the sword. The kingdom is here, it's the reign of the Lord. He said, don't look for signs and days. The kingdom's not a place that waits. It's not out there across the sea. The kingdom lives inside of thee. Not in a palace made of stone, not just a dream of streets of gold, but righteousness and peace within. the rule of Christ that has no end. The kingdom of heaven is moving inside, not seen with the eyes, but known in our lives, not built on the sand, not ruled by the sword. The kingdom is here, it's the reign of the Lord. My kingdom is not of this world, he said. No earthly crown, no throne of men, but where the Spirit sets you free, there's the kingdom. Come and see the kingdom of God, the kingdom of light, breaking the darkness, shining so bright. Not far away, not yet to come. The kingdom is here, his will is done.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome, welcome, world changers. And so here we are again, another Shabbat. All right. So we're about to get into the Book of Enoch and start reading here. Enoch chapter 72 in the R.H. Charles. It's Enoch chapter 71 in the Richard Laurence. It's the same content. It's just the chapters are just numbered differently. Okay, well, in the live chat, we have Calamento says Shabbat Shalom to all. Chipmunk says Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Cubert says Shabbat Shalom. Mewa says Shabbat Shalom, family. Mewa says awesome, but kind of hard to listen with lyrics. I'd love to hear them. I'd love to hear, but I love the music. Oh, right, all right. Mewa says, this is the hour. Is awesome. The second verse, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Calamento says, awesome job, dangerous tribe. And Chipmunk says, great job, dangerous tribe. Well, thank you guys. Shabbat Shalom to y'all. Blessings multiplied to you and your families. Thank you guys for the compliments, really appreciate that. All right, yeah, so today we have the live chat open for all. The live chat is open for the public. Normally what we have is the live chat would be for members only, especially during the week. I am thinking about opening the live chat tomorrow as well. So it'll be Saturday and Sunday. The reasons being is to open the door for those who are new here a little bit more, and to get them a little bit more involved in the live chat. So I'm thinking today and tomorrow. However, during the week we will still keep it as members only. If you are a returning visitor, if you will, or a returning viewer, I should say, not visitor, and I just see here over on TikTok it says no sound. Okay, hold on a second. Just a minute there, Tracy. Okay. All right. Let's see if I can. I'm not sure if that. How's that? Can you hear me over there on TikTok? Can you hear me over there on TikTok? Yeah. So, if you are a a regular viewer here on the live streams or on the channel, and you have not become a member yet, please consider becoming a member. There are member benefits like this. We have member-only live chats during the week. We have member-only polls, member-only posts. I post quite regularly member-only posts. There's members first posts. We take our live streams from the live streams that we've already done, the live replays, and we edit it. We edit it so that it's kind of like a highlights version of the live stream. So we take just the main meat of the live stream and produce that as a highlights video, and then we publish those highlights videos. Those highlights videos are viewable to the members only at first, for the first month, and then after that it's released to the public. So if you're a member of the channel, you get front row seats when it comes to these kind of videos. You also get, we have the members only video conferences that we have. We've been having once a month on Sunday afternoon. That's for members only as well. And so there are many benefits here to being a member on the YouTube channel. If you haven't become a member yet, please consider becoming a member. It is very, very affordable. It's almost nothing, okay? It works out to be something like 12 cents for a day for for a live stream. Actually it's what, $3 and something American a month. It's really, really affordable. So any of you that are a recurring viewer, if you keep on coming back and you find any value here, please consider becoming a member. Okay, you help out just for as little as 12 cents a day. This is like 2 to 3 hours worth of video. That's like 5 cents an hour for me. 5 cents an hour. Okay? And that's just the actual live the live streams itself, and that's not all the preparation and all the other editing that goes into these videos and into the channel, which I am working very, very hard at doing. Most of my day is taken up with these live streams and preparing for these live streams and the videos and all that kind of stuff that we do here on the channel. My plate is very full. Okay, so doing all that, you get all that for 12 plus cents a day. Okay, so please consider becoming a member if you're not already. If you say, Christopher, there's no way I can afford 12 cents a day. I want to be a member, but there's no way I can afford that. I just cannot. I can't do that. $3 and so many cents a month is way too much for me. If that's the case, send me an email and I will do everything that I can in my power to make sure that you get all the benefits of a member without the actual membership costs of $3 and something a month. Okay, I remember 30 some odd years ago when I was on the streets, I was able to get $3 in no time, even if it meant me going to a stranger and asking, or going to one of my friends and saying, hey, you got $3 for me, So typically speaking, where there's a will, there's a way. But hey, you know what? Maybe there's somebody out there where you say, I do have a will, but there's no way for me at all. Send me an email and we can get that. We can make that happen. All right, folks. Okay. So we're here to study the book of Enoch here tonight. Today, I should say. I'm used to saying tonight. And I'm going to be comparing two different translations. We have the Richard Laurence translation. And I'm going to be reading from a website by the name of johnpratt.com. And so it's johnpratt.com, the Book of Enoch, translated from Ethiopic by Richard Laurence. So I'm going to be reading from that. And then I'm going to be reading from the R.H. Charles translation that you can find on sacred-texts. Sacred-texts. Okay, well, let's begin with Richard Laurence. And we're actually in a new quote-unquote Book of Enoch, or I shouldn't say book, but it's kind of like a sub-book of the actual Book of Enoch. It's called the Book of the Courses of the Heavenly Luminaries. And you can find this from chapter 72 all the way to chapter 82. And this is, the subheading here is called The Sun. Chapter 72 from the R.H. Charles, verse 1. The book of the courses of the luminaries of the heaven, the relations of each, according to their classes, their dominion, and their seasons, according to their names and places and of origin, and according to their months, which Uriel, the holy angel who was with me, who is their guide, showed me. And he showed me all their laws exactly as they are, and how it is with regard to all the years of the world and unto eternity, till the new creation is accomplished, which dureth till eternity. Verse 2, and this is the first law of the luminaries. The luminary, the sun, has its rising in the eastern portals of the heaven, and its setting in the western portals of the heaven. And I saw 6 portals in which the sun rises, and 6 portals in which the sun sets, and the moon rises and sets in these portals, and the leaders of the stars and those whom they lead, 6 in the east and 6 in the west, and all following each other in accurately corresponding order. Also, many windows to the right and left of these portals. And first there goes forth the great luminary, named the sun, and his circumference is like the circumference of the heaven. And he is quite filled with illuminating and heating fire. The chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from the heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that he comes with the appropriate, literally that portal, and shines in the face of the heaven. In this way he rises in the first month in the great portal, which is the fourth, those 6 portals in the cast, and in that fourth portal from which the sun rises in the first month are 12 window openings, from which proceed a flame when they are opened in their season. When the sun rises in the heaven, he comes forth through that fourth portal 30 mornings in succession, and sets accurately in the fourth portal in the west of the heaven. And during this period, the day becomes daily longer, and the night nightly shorter, to the 30th morning. On that day, the day is longer than the night by a ninth part, and the night amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. Verse 11, the sun rises from that fourth portal and sets in the fourth, and returns to its fifth portal of the east 30 mornings, and rises from it, and sets in the fifth portal. And then the day becomes longer by 2 parts, and amounts to 11 parts, and the night becomes shorter, and amounts to 7 parts. And it returns to the east and enters into the sixth portal, and rises and sets in the sixth portal 1:30 mornings on account of its sign. On that day, the day becomes longer in the night than the night, and the day becomes double the night, and the day becomes 12 parts, and the night is shortened and becomes 6 parts. The sun mounts up to make the day shorter and the night longer, and the sun returns to the east and enters into the sixth portal, and rises from it and sets 30 mornings. And when 30 mornings are accomplished, the day decreases by exactly 1 part and becomes 11 parts, and the night 7. And the sun goes forth from that sixth portal in the west, and goes to the east, and rises in the fifth portal for 30 mornings, and sets in the west again in the fifth western portal. On that day, the day decreases by 2 parts, and amounts to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun goes forth from that fifth portal, and sets in the fifth portal of the west, and rises in the fourth portal from 1:30 mornings on account of its sign, and sets in the west. On that day, the day is equalized with the night, and becomes of equal length, and the night amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts. And the sun rises from that portal, and sets in the west, and returns to the east, and rises 30 mornings, and the third portal, and sets in the west in the third portal. And on that day, the night becomes longer than the day, and night becomes longer than the day shorter than the day till the 30th morning, and the night amounts to exactly 10 parts, and the day to 8 parts. The sun rises from that third portal, and sets in the third portal in the west, and returns to the east, and for 30 mornings rises in the second portal in the east, and in like manner sets in the second portal in the west of the heaven. And on that day, the night amounts to 11 parts, and the day to 7 parts. The sun rises on that day from that second portal, and sets in the west in the second portal, and returns to the east into the first portal for 1:30 mornings, and sets in the first portal in the west of the heaven. And on that day, the night becomes longer, and amounts to the double of the day, and the night amounts exactly to 12 parts, and the day to 6. And the sun has therewith traversed the divisions of his orbit, and turns again on those divisions of his orbit, and enters that portal 30 mornings, and sets also in the west opposite to it. And on that night has the night decreased in length by a ninth part, and the night has become 11 parts, and the day 7 parts. And the sun has returned and entered into the second portal in the east, and returns on those his divisions of his orbit for 30 mornings, rising and setting. And on that day the night decreases in length, and the night amounts to 10 parts, and the day to 8. And on that day the sun rises from that portal, and sets in the west, and returns to the east, and rises in the third portal for 1:30 mornings, and sets in the west of the heaven. On that day, the night decreases and amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts, and the night is equal to the day, and the year is exactly as to its days 364. Excuse me. And the length of the day and of the night, and the shortness of the day and of the night arise through the course of the sun. These distinctions are made. Literally, they are separated. So it comes that its course becomes daily longer and its course nightly shorter. And this is the law and the course of the sun, and his return as often as he returns 60 times and rises, i.e., the great luminary which is named the sun, forever and ever. And that which thus rises is the great luminary, and is so named according to its appearance, according as the Lord commanded. As he rises, so he sets, and decreases not, and rests not, but runs day and night, and his light is sevenfold brighter than that of the moon, but as regards size, they are both equal. Okay, I'm going to read the Richard Laurence translation in just a moment. Let's have a peek here, see what we got in the live chat. Guys, I'm going to try something. I'm going to try something that I've never tried yet, especially on YouTube. There's this Q&A feature that they have here. Let's see what we got. See how this. Over there on TikTok, M, welcome. Dana, welcome. Rust, user 78. Tea Leaf, Taz. Welcome, welcome, guys. All right, we got so much here. Seek the Lord says Shabbat Shalom, and David says Shabbat Shalom, wonderful fam. All praises to our lovingly committed L, wishing everyone a refreshing Sabbath day filled with joy. Well, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Blessings multiply to you and your families. Welcome and blessings, blessings. Right. Any questions? Let me know there, especially on YouTube. I'm going to pull up the Richard Laurence translation in just a moment here. But just before I do that, okay. Okay, let's go to Richard Laurence translation. This is chapter 71. Chapter 71. Okay. Give me a second, guys. All right. Okay, guys, can you give me about 3 or 4 minutes? I'm going to play our song, The Kingdom Is Now, and I'll be right back, okay? Thank you, guys.
They say it's far, they say it's near. They say one day it'll appear. But Jesus spoke, the truth is clear. The kingdom's now, the kingdom's here. Not in a throne of earthly might, not in a war, not in a fight, but in spirit, love's embrace. The reign of God is in this place. The kingdom of heaven is moving inside, not seen with the eyes, but known in our lives. Not built on the sand, not ruled by the sword. The kingdom is here, it's the reign of the Lord. He said, don't look for signs and days. The kingdom's not a place that waits. It's not out there across the sea. The kingdom lives inside of thee. Not in a palace made of stone, not just a dream of streets of gold, but righteousness and peace within. The rule of Christ that has no end. The kingdom of heaven is moving inside, not seen with the eyes, but known in our lives. Not built on the sand, not ruled by the sword. The kingdom is here, it's the reign of the Lord. My kingdom is not of this world, he said. No earthly crown, no throne of men, but where the Spirit sets you free, there's the kingdom. Come and see the kingdom of God, the kingdom of light, breaking the darkness, shining so bright. Not far away, not yet to come. The kingdom is here, his will is done.
His will be done. His will be done. Okay, you know, I'm going to try something here. We just read chapter 72 from the R.H. Charles translation. I'm going to do something a little bit different here. I'm going to paste a link in the live chat. It is a link to a 10-question quiz based upon the channel, or not the channel, excuse me, the chapter that we just read. Okay, so there you have it, folks. Should be in the live chat. If you click on that link, it should take you to a page where there is a quiz based upon Enoch chapter 72. Okay, so let's read the Richard Laurence translation here. Let me know, guys, if there's what you think about the quiz and how that went for you guys. Just let me know what you think. All right. Okay. Richard Laurence translation. Chapter 71, the Book of the Revolutions of the Luminaries of Heaven. So the luminaries would be talking about, of course, the sun, the moon, the stars, this kind of stuff. But this particular chapter is talking about the sun. Keep in mind as well that this is from an ancient perspective, and it's based upon a frame of reference of a human being on earth, as well as it's also very well could be very figurative in many figures of speech here. Okay, so I know that the odd person out there actually believes that this is actually literal, that everything that it says here is literal, like there's literal portals and these kind of things. I don't think there is. I think this is just all figures of speech. The Book of the Revolutions of the Luminaries of Heaven, according to their respective classes, with respective powers, their respective periods, their respective names, the places where they commence their progress, and their respective months, which Uriel, or Uriel, the holy angel who was with me, explained to me, he who conducted them. So Uriel here is one of the archangels of God, who is by name, by definition, is set over the luminaries. The word Uriel means the light of God, or God my light, or light of God. Okay, God, or is light. El is God. So this is not by chance that Uriel was placed over the luminaries of heaven, since he is supposed to be over light, and the sun, the moon, the stars, and all that kind of stuff are heavenly bodies, if you will, that emit light. The whole account of them, according to every year of the world, forever, until a new work shall be effected, which will be eternal. Enoch chapter 71, verse 2. This is the first law of the luminaries. The sun and the light arrive at the gates of heaven, which are on the east, and on the west of it are the western gates of heaven. Again, I think this is all figurative. You know, the gates of heaven can mean many different things. We have in the scriptures, the gates of heaven. Open the gates of heaven is talking about rain. Okay, or open the windows of heaven, I should say, talking about rain. The windows of heaven, closing the windows of heaven would be talking about drought. Thank you for the likes over there on TikTok, John. Appreciate that. This is the first law of the luminaries. The sun and the light arrive at the gates of heaven, which are on the east, and on the west of it are the western gates of heaven. I beheld the gates from where the sun goes forth, and the gates where the sun sets, in which gates also the moon rises and sets. And I beheld the conductors of the stars among those who precede them. 6 gates were at the rising, and 6 at the setting of the sun. All these respectively, one after another, are on a level, and numerous windows are on the right hand, or on the right and on the left sides of those gates. First proceeds forth that great luminary which is called the sun, the orb, which is as the orb of heaven, the whole of it being replete with splendid and flaming fire. Now, orbs would typically be considered as spherical. So if you want to take that literally, I mean, that works. But then it goes, of course, this is all figurative speaking. It's chariot, where it ascends, and the wind blows. So we all know that the sun doesn't ride a chariot, okay? But figuratively speaking, you could say it in a figure of speech. The sun sets in the heaven and returns by the north to proceed towards the east, is conducted so as to enter by that gate and illuminate the face of heaven. In the same manner, it goes forth in the first month by the great gate. It goes forth through the fourth of those 6 gates, which are at the rising of the sun. And in the 4th gate, through which the sun with the moon proceeds, in the first part of it, there are 12 open windows, from which issues a flame, and they are open in their proper periods. There's a note here that says, through which part of it. So it's like through which the sun and the moon proceeds in the first part of it. It says could also be translated as from which the sun rises in the first month. Next verse, verse 12, when the sun rises in heaven, it goes forth through this fourth gate 30 days, and by the fourth gate in the west of heaven on the level which with it descends. During that period, the day is lengthened from the day, and the night curtailed from the night for 30 days. And then the day, which is longer by 2 parts than the night, the day is precisely 10 parts, and the night is 8. The sun goes forth through this fourth gate, and sets in it, and turns to the fifth gate during 30 days, after which it proceeds from and sets in the fifth gate. Then the day becomes lengthened by a second portion, so that it is 11 parts. Excuse me. While the night becomes shortened and is only 7 parts. The sun now returns to the east, entering into the sixth gate, and rising and setting in the sixth gate 31 days on account of its signs. At that period, the day is longer than the night, being twice as long as the night, and becomes 12 parts. But the night is shortened and becomes 6 parts. Then the sun rises up, that the day may be shortened and the night lengthened. And the sun returns toward the east, entering into the sixth gate, where it rises and sets for 30 days. When that period is completed, the day becomes shortened precisely 1 part, so that it is 11 parts, while the night is 7 parts. Then the sun goes from the west, from that sixth gate, and proceeds eastward, rising in the fifth gate for 30 days, and setting again westwards in the fifth gate of the west. At that period, the day becomes shortened 2 parts, and is 10 parts, while the night is 8 parts. Then the sun goes from the fifth gate, as it sets in the fifth gate of the west, and rises in the fourth gate for 31 days, on account of its signs, setting in the west. At that period, the day is made equal with the night, and being equal with it, the night becomes 9 parts, and the day 9 parts. Then the sun goes from that gate as it sets in the west, and returns to the east, and returning to the east, proceeds by the third gate for 30 days, setting in the west at the third gate. At that period, the night is lengthened from the day during 30 mornings, and the day is curtailed from the day during 30 days. The night being 10 parts precisely, and the day 8 parts. The sun now goes from the third gate and sets in the third gate in the west, but returns to the east. It proceeds by the second gate of the east for 30 days. In like manner, also it sets in the second gate in the west of heaven. At that period, the night is 11 parts, and the day 7 parts. Then the sun goes from that time, from the second gate, as it sets in the second gate in the west, but returns to the east, proceeding by the first gate for 31 days, and sets in the west in the first gate. At that period, that night is lengthened as much again as the day. It is 12 parts precisely, while the day is 6 parts. The sun has thus completed its beginnings, and a second time goes round from these beginnings. Into that first gate it enters for 30 days, and sets in the west in the opposite part of heaven. At that period, the night is contracted in its length a fourth part, that is, 1 portion, and becomes 11 parts. The day is 7 parts. Then the sun returns and enters into the second gate of the east. It returns by these beginnings 30 days, rising and setting. At that period, the night is contracted in its length and becomes 10 parts, and the day 8 parts. Then the sun goes from that second gate and sets in the west, but returns to the east and rises in the east. In the third gate, 31 days, setting in the west of heaven. Thank you guys for your likes over there on TikTok. Appreciate that. Sorry for those of you on TikTok. I can't really see it doesn't tell me who, if I receive any likes over there on YouTube, but for those of you who have, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, back to verse 42. At that period, the night becomes shortened. It is 9 parts. The night is equal with the day. The year is precisely 364 days. The lengthening of the day and the night and the contraction of the day and the night are made to differ from each other by the progress of the sun. By means of this progress, the day is daily lengthened and the night is greatly shortened. This is the law and progress of the sun, and it's turning while it turns back, turning during 60 days. There's a note that says it is 60 days in the same gates. 30 days twice every year. And going forth. This is the great everlasting luminary, that which he names the sun forever and ever. This also is that which goes forth at a great luminary, and which is named after its peculiar kind as God commanded. And thus it goes in and out, neither slackening, nor resting, but running on in its chariot by day and by night. It shines with a 7th portion of light from the moon, but the dimensions of both are equal. Note here again, it says, it shines with ... the moon. So that's the phrase that says it shines with a 7th portion of the light from the moon. It says, or, quote, its light is 7 times brighter than that of the moon, unquote. The Aramaic texts more clearly describe how the moon's light waxes and wanes by a half of a 7th part each day. Here in the Ethiopic version, the moon is thought of as 2 halves, each half being divided into 7 parts, hence the 14 portions, as described in chapter 72, verses 9 to 10. Okay, so let's go on to Enoch chapter 72. It's a very short chapter, actually. Enoch chapter 72. After this law, I beheld another law of an inferior luminary, the name of which is the moon, and the orb of which is as the orb of heaven. Its chariot, which it secretly ascends, the wind blows, and light is given to it by measure. Every month, at its exit and entrance, it becomes changed, and its periods are as the periods of the sun. And when in like manner its light is to exist, that is, it says here, when the moon is full, in the notes, its light is a 7th portion from the light of the sun. Thus it rises, and its commencement towards the east goes forth for 30 days. At that time it appears and becomes to you the beginning of the month. 30 days it is, with the sun in the gate from which the sun goes forth. Half of it is in extent 7 portions, 1/2, and the whole of its orb is void of light, except the 7th portion out of the 14 portions of its light. And in a day it receives a 7th portion, or half that portion of its light. Its light is by 7s, by 1 portion, and by the half of a portion it sets with the sun. And when the sun rises, the moon rises with it, receiving half a portion of light. On that night, when it commences its period, previously to the day of the month, the moon sets with the sun. And on that night it is dark in its 14 portions, that is, in each half. But it rises on that day with 1/7 portion precisely, and in its progress declines from the rising of the sun. During the remainder of its period, its light increases to 14 portions. Okay, let's go over to Richard Laurence translation, or excuse me, the R.H. Charles translation. I gotta feel like I'm kind of juggling these different translations in my mind here. So we're on chapter 73 now. Anybody do that quiz that was posted there earlier? Chapter 73, R.H. Charles translation. And after this, I saw another law. So again, this is a different translation of the chapter that we just read from Richard Laurence. So this is R.H. Charles. After this, I saw another law dealing with the smaller luminary, which is named the moon. And her circumference is like the circumference of the heaven, and her chariot is in which she rides is driven by the wind, and light is given to her in definite measure. Let's keep in mind also that this word wind can also mean spirit. Okay, typically speaking. I'm also going to post a link to a quiz for this chapter as well, a little bit later here. Anybody listening over there on YouTube, or actually any of the platforms? I think it was posted on YouTube, Kick, Twitch, and Facebook, I think. If there's any of you that have done that quiz, let me know. I'll post another quiz for this one anyway. Verse 2, and her circumference. Okay, so we read that. Verse 3, and her rising and setting change every month, and her days are like the days of the sun. And when her light is uniform, that is full, it amounts to the seventh part of the light of the sun. So in other words, according to this, the way this reads anyway, it's like the moon when it's full is a seventh part of the light of the sun. I wonder if that's true literally. You know what? Let me just ask. And by the way, guys, in the live chat, we do have. I'm going to end the Q&A there in the live chat. In the live chat especially on YouTube, I think it should work for everyone actually, but the live chat on the hold on a second here. For some reason, I'm sorry guys, for some reason there's quite a bit of the live chat that didn't come through. Let me see here what I got. Let's see what we have here. Mazi says Enoch calendar. Mazi says Enoch, Sadok, Dead Sea, the same calendar, 364 days, and then intercalated at the beginning of the year according to the spring equinox. Yah's days and seasons never change. This is why the Jews didn't include Enoch in their canon, because they want the gatekeepers of Yah's set apart days. I never heard that that theory, Mazi, that's the reason why that the Jews didn't include Enoch in their canon. I understand that the Book of Enoch actually was included in their canon up until when Yeshua, up until the 2nd century, and then they excluded it The theory that I've heard is that they excluded the Book of Enoch because it portrays Yeshua, Jesus, as the Messiah, and they didn't believe that was true. So they pretty much rejected the Book of Enoch. So that happened much after that happened after the first century. Sergeant, sorry, Sergeant, I didn't see none of these came through. I don't know why. It didn't come through here. Sergeant says, praise report. A man called me from the community seeking more understanding about Torah observance yesterday. What a blessing to find a new unblinded brother. Wow. Yes. Amen. Amen. That's awesome. Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Sergeant. Praise God. Chipmunk says, it's interesting how many different calendars there are. I prefer God's calendar. Chipmunk says, I never saw the quiz. Did anyone see it? And the second verse says, nope, no quiz. Well, that is really weird. What's going on here? What is going on? Why would that be? Why would that be? Okay, well, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here trying to figure that one out. We'll see if I can fix that for later. So what I'm going to have to do then is I'm going to have to post it manually in the live chat instead of using, because I'm using third-party software here. So for some reason it's not really working well. It's not syncing up very well here. My apologies. Chipmunk says, does that mean we all get A's? I guess so. You all get A's on that one, that's for sure. All right. Well, I'm not going to post the old quiz. I'll post another quiz after this one. It's a link that will take you to a quiz that's based upon that chapter. So this is a shorter chapter anyway, so the quiz should be easier anyway, not like the last chapter. Thank you guys for letting me know. All right. Okay, well, let's go back to the book of Enoch, verse 4. And thus she rises, and her place, and her first place, and her first phase in the east comes forth on the 13th morning, and on that day she becomes visible, and constitutes for you the first phase of the moon on the 13th day, together with the sun in the portal where the sun rises. And the one half of her goes forth by a seventh part, and her whole circumference is empty without light, with the exception of 1/7 part of it, and the 14th part of her light. And when she receives 1/7 part of the half of her light accounts to 1/7 part and the half thereof. Verse 7, and she sets with the sun, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with him, and receives the half of one part of light. And in that night, in the beginning of her morning, in the commencement of the lunar day, the moon sets with the sun, and is visible that night with the 14 parts, and the half of one of them. And she rises on that day with exactly a seventh part, and comes forth and recedes from the rising of the sun, and in her remaining days she becomes bright in the remaining 13 parts. Okay, well, let's see if I can get this to work here. It's already giving me a problem. Come on. Where is it now? See if this works. That worked. That worked. Okay. So there's a quiz based on the chapter that we just read. This is something new as well, folks, that I'm just trying out. So let me know if that works and how that works. Let me know what you think. A little note on the calendar as well. So, a couple notes on what we're reading here before I get too far. I don't want to just... So, in the Richard Laurence translation, it says that the moon in verse 3, it says, every month at its exit and entrance it becomes changed, and its periods are as the periods of the sun. And when in like manner its light is to exist, its light is a seventh portion from the light of the sun. When the moon is full, its light is a seventh portion from the light of the sun. Okay. So, this is not literally true. A full moon is $400,000 times more brighter than the full sun. Oh, excuse me. The full sun is 400,000 times more brighter than the moon. If you want to talk about it like literally measured as a literal measurement of the amount of light that you could find from the full sun, and you compare that with the full moon. So it would take 400,000 moons to equal the light of the sun. So what does that mean for this? That means that it's either this is just outright wrong, or this is, again, a figure of speech, that we have this number 7 in there again. The number 7 as a figure can mean pretty much anything. I mean, it can mean It can mean 1,000 times brighter, 100,000 times brighter, 1,000,000 times brighter. It can be the number 7 just simply means like all-encompassing, a lot, like forever. You know, these kind of like how when in the Gospels, when I believe was it Peter that asked Yeshua, how many times am I to forgive my brother? Up to 7 times? And he said, no, 7 times 7, 70 times 7. So when Peter said 7 times, it's like an innumerable amount of times. Like the word 7 was not a mathematical number. I mean, it's not literally 7. Excuse me, but you know, it's a number that represents like an all-inclusive, virtually innumerable amount of times. So you could apply that kind of interpretation to this. Its light is the 7th portion from the light of the sun, meaning basically it's an innumerable amount of times, which it would have been back in those days. Whoever wrote this, whenever it was written, we know that it was written at least 2,000 years ago, and if it is written by Enoch or anywhere near the time of Enoch, as in the Enoch of Genesis, then it would be way older than 2,000 years. So if that's the case, they wouldn't really have the instruments to measure the exact number of the exact amount of light that the sun gave off versus the moon. Okay? Anybody do that quiz? What do you think of the quiz? Anybody do that quiz? Again, I gotta check this here because it doesn't. So that quiz should have came up this time. How'd you do? Somebody says I did the first question to save the link I didn't want to take from the study. Okay, that's great. That's fine. All right, so at least it came through and it works anyway. So it's quite a bit different if you look at the differences. And maybe what we should do is not read the whole chapter and then go. We should kind of compare it verse by verse, because a lot of things we can't really see unless we do that. Like, for example, when the sun rises. Okay, so for example, so this is back at chapter 73 now. This is chapter 73, I think it is. Yeah, chapter 73. R.H. Charles, and when she sets with the sun, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with him, and receives the half of one part of light. Now, here in the R.H. Charles, or in Richard Laurence, it says, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with it, and receiving half a portion of light. So that matches. And then it goes on here. So the R.H. Charles is all one long verse, but the Richard Laurence divides it up into different verses. So the R.H. Charles goes on to say, and in that night, the beginning of her morning, in the commencement of the lunar day, the moon sets with the sun. Richard Laurence, on that night, when it commences its period previous to the day of the month, the moon sets with the sun. R.H. Charles says, and is visible that night with the 14 parts and the half of one of them. The Richard Laurence says, and on that night it is dark in its 14th parts. In its 14 parts, and that is in each half. Isn't this a contradiction, right? Oh, sorry. It's not. No. It says it's invisible that night in the R.H. Charles. It is invisible that night with 14 parts and the half of one of them. So yeah, that matches up. The Richard Laurence goes on to say, and she rises on that day with exactly a 7th part. The Richard Laurence says, but it rises on that day with 1/7 portion precisely. So it says it here versus the R.H. Charles, which says she. R.H. Charles says, and comes forth and recedes from the rising of the sun. Richard Laurence, and in its progress declines from the rising of the sun. Okay. And the R.H. Charles says, and in her remaining days she becomes bright in the remaining 13 parts. Richard Laurence says, during the remainder of its period, its light increases to 14 portions. So that's different. So you see, we have 14 portions here in Richard Laurence, and the R.H. Charles, it says 13. Well, it says the remaining. So it says, and in her remaining days, she becomes bright in the remaining 13 parts. That's different, quite different. Did anybody else try the quiz? Okay, let's do R.H. Charles 74. And I saw another course, a law for her, and how according to that law she performs her monthly revolution. And all these, Uriel, the holy angel who is the leader of them all, showed to me and their positions, and I wrote down their positions as he showed them to me. And I wrote down their months as they were. Okay, let's continue to the end of the verse here. And the appearance of their lights till 15 days were accomplished. Okay, so let's go to the Richard Laurence. He says, then I saw another progress and regulation. So regulation instead of law, which he effected in the law of the moon. The progress of the moons, and everything relating to them, Uriel showed me. The holy angel who conducted them all. Their stations I wrote down as he showed them to me. I wrote down their months as they occur in the appearance of their light until it is completed in 15 days. Okay, so that matches. R.H. Charles, verse 3. In single 7th parts she shall accomplish all her light in the east, and in single 7th parts accomplishes all her darkness in the west. Richard Laurence, in each of its 2 7 portions, it completes all its light at rising and at setting. R.H. Charles, verse 4, and in her certain months she alters her settings, and in certain months she pursues her own peculiar course. Richard Laurence, on stated months it changes its settings, and on stated months it makes its progress through each gate. And changes its settings. I think about, like, technical computer, reset, push the reset button, changes its settings. Let's go into the settings under the, edit menu. In 2 gates, the moon sets with the sun. In those 2 gates, which are in the midst, in the 3rd and 4th gate. From the 3rd gate, it goes forth for 7 days and makes its circuit. Next verse says, again, it returns to the gate from where the sun goes forth, and in that completes the whole of its light. Then it declines from the sun and enters in 8 days into the 6th gate, and returns in 7 days to the 3rd gate from which the sun goes forth. R.H. Charles, in 2 months the moon sets with the sun. In those 2 middle portals in the 3rd and 4th. Oh, where would this... Okay, so that's in the previous verse in the Richard Laurence. Verse 6, R.H. Charles, she goes forth for 7 days and turns about and returns again through the portal where the sun rises and accomplishes all her light, and she recedes from the sun, and in 8 days enters the 6th portal from which the sun goes forth. Verse 7, and when the sun goes forth from the 4th portal, she goes forth 7 days until she goes forth from the 5th and turns back again in 7 days into the 4th portal and accomplishes all her light, and recedes and enters into the 1st portal in 8 days. Richard Laurence, when the sun proceeds to the 4th gate, the moon goes forth for 7 days until it passes from the 5th gate. Again, it returns in 7 days to the 4th gate, and completing all its light, declines and passes on by the 1st gate in 8 days. Okay. R.H. Charles, verse 8, and she returns again in 7 days into the 4th portal from which the sun goes forth. Richard Laurence, and returns in 7 days to the 4th gate from which the sun goes forth. R.H. Charles, thus I saw their position, how the moons rose and the sun set in those days. Richard Laurence, thus I beheld their stations, as according to the fixed order of the months in the sun rises and sets. R.H. Charles, and in 5 years are added together, the sun has an overplus of 30 days. Richard Laurence, at those times, there is an excess of 30 days belonging to the sun in 5 years. Richard Laurence says, and all the days which accrue to it for one of those 5 years, when they are full, amount to 364 days. Richard Laurence, all the days belonging to each year of the 5 years were, when completed, amount to 364 days. R.H. Charles, and the overplus of the sun and of the stars amount to six days in 5 years, and 6 days every year come to 30 days. Excuse me, let me read that again. And the overplus of the sun and of the stars amounts to 6 days. In 5 years, 6 days, every year come to 30 days, and the moon falls behind the sun and stars to the number of 30 days. R.H. Charles. Oh, what happened there? Sorry. Richard Laurence. And to the sun and stars belong 6 days, 6 days in each of the 5 years, 30 days belonging to them, so that the moon has 30 days less than the sun and stars. Maywa says, my nephew decided to take the quiz. I hope he did good. Amazing. That's awesome, Maywa. That's awesome. Yeah, I hope he did good as well. All right, so it's a little bit difficult for me to match the two because of the numbering differences, and the chapters and the verses are all split up differently. We'll try to get it done here. We'll try to continue to match it up. R.H. Charles. This is verse 12 in R.H. Charles. In Richard Laurence, we're on verse 13 in a different chapter. R.H. Charles says, and the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single day unto eternity, but complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days. Okay. Richard Laurence, the moon brings on all the years exactly, that their stations may come neither too forwards nor too backwards in a single day, but that the years may be changed with correct precision in 364 days. I'm gonna stop there because Richard Laurence has got it different as well, divided up. So it says here, in 3 years there are 1,092 days. And in 5 years, okay, so let's just take this one step at a time. In 3 years there are 1,092 days. And that matches the Richard Laurence. It's just a different verse. The R.H. Charles says, and in 5 years, and in 5 years, 1,820 days. Richard Laurence says, in 5 years, there are 1,820. Okay. R.H. Charles says, so that in 8 years, there are 2,912 days. And here it also says in 8 years, there are 2,912 days. Okay. R.H. Charles says, for the moon alone, the days amount to 3 years to 1,062 days. In the R.H. Charles, or excuse me, in the Richard Laurence, says to the moon alone belong in 3 years 1,062 days. And in the R.H. Charles, in 5 years she falls 50 days behind. That is to the sum of 1,770. Richard Laurence, in 5 years it has 50 days less than the sun. Okay, it doesn't say 1,000. This is in brackets anyway. That is so the R.H. Charles says to the sum of 1,770, that is to be added 1,000 and 65 or 62 days. Verse 15, R.H. Charles, and in 5 years there are 1,770 days. And that matches the Richard Laurence. So the Richard Laurence doesn't have any of this in there. Everything that's in brackets in the R.H. Charles is not in the Richard Laurence. Verse 15, and in 5 years there are 1,770 days, so that for the moon the days are 8 years, the days in 8 years amount to 2,832. Richard Laurence, and the days of the moon in 8 years are 2,832. Another bracket here in R.H. Charles, it says, for in 8 years she falls behind in the amount of 80 days. And then it says, all the days she falls behind in 8 years are 80. Richard Laurence, for its days in 8 years are less by 80 days, which 80 days are its diminution in 8 years. R.H. Charles, verse 17, and the year is accurately completed in conformity with the world stations and the stations of the sun. Richard Laurence, this is verse 16, the year then becomes truly complete according to the station of the moon and the station of the sun. R.H. Charles, which rise from the portals through which the sun rises and sets 30 days. And so the Richard Laurence says, which rise in different gates, which rise and set in them for 30 days. I believe there's a need to say something here about the calendars. So I understand that there are some people, a few people who, as you guys, excuse me, as you guys said earlier, there are so many different calendars. So many different people go by so many different calendars. And I think that is very unfortunate, because the whole idea of the calendar is the whole idea of having, let's say, for example, feast days set for a certain day on a calendar is so that the entire community can celebrate together at once. Division is not good, right? We need to have everybody on the same page, especially when it comes to celebrations. So when we have people that go off and do their own thing on different calendars, I understand they're very well-meaning. They think they're right. They think they have some secret calendar, secret kind of calendar they're discovering. The problem is that God's will is for everyone to celebrate together. And this is why in the early, for centuries, they would always go to the Sanhedrin, and the Sanhedrin would make a ruling on what day a certain feast was to be celebrated, to make sure that everybody celebrates together, right? So fast forward a little bit to Hillel II, Hillel II. Hillel was the last judge of the last leader of the Sanhedrin. And being the last leader of the Sanhedrin, Hillel he understood that the Sanhedrin would be dissolved, that it wouldn't be in operation in the future. He was aware of the political climate and what was going on there, and what was about to come. the Sanhedrin would be broken up and be dissolved, and the Jewish people wouldn't have the Sanhedrin anymore. And one of the great problems with that was that the Jewish people would not be able to determine what day to celebrate any given festival. You might say, well, how can they not know what day? Because isn't it set like in the Torah? Yes, it is, but you need to understand that it's a little bit fluid. It goes by like the moon and such, so it was a little bit fluid. So sometimes they wouldn't know exactly, like, is the 14th of Nisan this day or is it the next day, depending on the moon and all that kind of stuff. According to the Torah, in Deuteronomy chapter 17, whenever there's a controversy, and there is controversies when it comes to calendars, according to the Torah, you are to go by, it doesn't even say to pray about it. Yeah, it doesn't even say to pray about it. It says when there's a controversy, you are to go to the Levites or to the priests or to the judges. And it says, do what they tell you to do. That is what God's word instructs us. Why would God instruct us to do it that way? Because God wants everyone to be on the same page. He doesn't want everybody and their brother and their pet hamster to be on different pages. So according to the Torah, we are to go by the judgment of the Sanhedrin, the judge, okay? So the last judge was Hillel too. He saw that in the future, they would not have the Sanhedrin available to go to determine exactly which day to celebrate. So he put in place a permanent calendar. And he did that to ensure that everyone would celebrate on the same day. So as I understand it, according to the heart of our Father, according to the will of God, according to the Torah, we are to go by that. If the Sanhedrin comes back in operation, and if it's legit, if it's truly the Sanhedrin again, according to the Torah, and there is another judge that's put in place, and if the judge determines that the dates will celebrate it on the next day instead of this day or whatever else, well, that's a different story. But according to the Torah, we are to go by the ruling of the judge, and the last judge put in place a calendar that is to be followed. And so me personally, I go by that calendar, okay, because it is the ruling of Hillel too, which is in accordance with the Torah, and according to the Torah, we are supposed to go by that. Now, when I read the Book of Enoch here in this the Enochian calendar, I do believe that we should study this. We should know the calendar, but not to follow it, but rather as historical, for historical educational purposes. Like, this is what they used to go by. This is what they used to believe thousands of years ago. So this still does have value in that it tells us very specifically what kind of calendar they went by back in those days, thousands of years ago. I think it's important to state that. Mewa says, bless you. Bless you more, Mewa. Chipmunk says, that's awesome, Maywa. I hope he does well and gets a lot from these studies. Yes, I think it's very important. I think it is very important to say what I'm saying, or, to understand that when we're reading this whole thing about the Enochian calendar, that this is historical, educational purposes, and to follow this calendar is really not in accordance with the Word of God and the ruling of the judge, as we're supposed to go by. So to follow this calendar, you're doing your own thing instead of actually doing what God has set in place. Sergeant says, I have a secret calendar according to how I read scripture, but I don't mind joining others on their calendar celebration. All right, Sergeant. Chipmunk says, I believe God's calendar is a must, so we know when he is returning. It is crucial to know the feast days. Chipmunk says, keep us posted, Maywa. Yes, please do, Maywa. Sergeant says, you only know year to year how the calendar sits. If there is anything we need to do is figure this out, because as I read instructions, the calendar is off. Okay. Chipmunk says, I know there are many different sects of Jews. There must be some who follow this calendar. I'm not sure what name they go by. Thank you, Chipmunk. It all depends on how you define the word Jew, right? There's a lot of people who claim to be Jews, a lot of people who are Jews, and the word Jew is very fluid in many, in the minds of many people. So it all depends on how you define the word Jew. When I say Jew, I'm talking about like the ancient and modern Judaism. That's what I mean. All right. Thank you, guys. Okay, so that's Enoch chapter 74. Is there anybody else except for Maywa's nephew that did the quiz from the last chapter? That'd be chapter 73. Okay, let's go on with chapter 75. And the leaders of the heads of the thousands who are placed over the whole creation and over all the stars have also to do with the 4 intercalary days, being inseparable from their office according to the reckoning of the year, and these render service on the 4 days which are not reckoned in the reckoning of the year. Richard Laurence, these are the leaders of the chiefs of the thousands, those who preside over all creation, over all the stars, with the 4 days which are added and never separated from the place allotted them, according to the complete calculation of the year. Verse 2, Richard Laurence, and these serve 4 days which are not calculated in the calculation of the year. R.H. Charles, this is all in the same verse. It says, and also to do with the 4 intercalary days, being inseparable from their office according to the reckoning of the year, and these render service on the 4 days which are not reckoned in the reckoning of the year. Okay, so verse 3, respecting them, men, this would be of Richard Laurence translation, respecting them, men greatly err. For these luminaries truly serve in the dwelling place of the world. One day in the first gate, one in the third gate, one in the fourth gate, and one in the sixth gate. R.H. Charles says, this is verse 2, and owing to them men go wrong therein, for those luminaries truly render service on the world stations, one in the first portal, one in the third portal of the heaven, one in the fourth portal, one in the sixth portal. And the exactness of the year is accomplished through its separate 364 stations. Richard Laurence, and the harmony of the world becomes complete every 364 state of it. For the signs, the seasons, the years, and the days Uriel showed me, the angel whom the Lord of glory appointed over all the luminaries. Of heaven in heaven and in the world, that they might rule in the face of the sky and appearing over the earth, become conductors of the days and nights, the sun, the moon, the stars, and all the ministers of heaven, which make their circuit with all the chariots of heaven. R.H. Charles. For the signs and the times and the years and the days the angel Uriel showed to me, whom the Lord of glory has set forever over the luminaries of the heaven, in the heaven and in the world, that they should rule on the face of the heaven and be seen on the earth, and be leaders for the day and the night, that is, the sun, moon, the stars, and all the ministering creatures which make their revolution in all the chariots of the heaven. Interesting, it says here, ministering creatures. Verse 4, in like manner 12 doors Uriel showed me, opening in the circumference of the sun's chariot in the heaven, through which the rays of the sun break forth. And from them is warmth diffused over the earth, when they are opened at their appointed seasons. Richard Laurence, thus the angel showed me 12 gates open for the circuit of the chariots of the sun in heaven, from which the rays of the sun shoot forth. From these proceed heat over the earth when they are opened in their stated seasons. They are for the winds and the spirit of the dew, when in their seasons they are open in heaven at its extremities. 12 gates I beheld in heaven, at the extremities of the earth, through which the sun, moon, and stars, and all the works of heaven proceed at their rising and setting. Many windows also are open on the right and on the left. One window at a certain season grows extremely hot, so also at their gates, from which the stars go forth as they are commanded, and in which they set according to their number. I saw likewise the chariots of heaven running in the world above to those gates in which the stars turn, which never set. One of these is greater than all, which goes round the whole world. Let's see. Okay, so the R.H. Charles, verse 5, this is in brackets. It says, and for the winds and the spirit of the dew, when they are opened, standing open in the heavens at the ends. As for the 12 portals in heaven, at the ends of the earth, out of which go forth the sun, moon, and stars, and all the works of heaven in the east and the west, there are many windows open to the left and right of them, and one window at its appointed season produces warmth, corresponding as these do to those doors from which the stars come forth according as he has commanded them. and wherein they sat corresponding to their number. And I saw chariots in the heaven, running in the world, above those portals in which revolve the stars that never set. And one is larger than all the rest, and it is that makes its course through the entire world. Okay, so chapter 75 in the Richard Laurence translation, chapter 75. At the extremities of the earth I beheld 12 gates open for all the winds, from which they proceed and blow over the earth. 3 of them are open in front of heaven, 3 in the west, 3 on the right side of heaven, and 3 on the left. The first 3 are those which are towards the east, 3 are towards the north, 3 behind those which are upon the left, towards the south, and 3 on the west. You know what I'm going to do, guys? I'm just going to... Chipmunk says, got to wonder if the 12 gates mentioned in heaven in the book of Revelation are these same 12 gates. Okay, guys. Here's a question. This is for all of you. Tomorrow, what would you guys like to do? Would you guys like to continue reading the Book of Enoch, or would you like to go into a one-day special subject? As I mentioned earlier, tomorrow I'm going to have the live chat open tomorrow as well. So there'll be Saturday and Sunday. The rest of the 5 days we'll have the live chat for the members only. You guys have any ideas of what you'd like to do for tomorrow? I'm going to post a poll, and you guys can vote. Every one of you can vote in the polls. Give me a second here. Let me know what you guys think in the live chat. I'm thinking 1 would be continue reading like we are. Number 2 would be going to some other special subject. You guys have any ideas? Let me know in the live chat, y'all. In the meantime, just I'm gonna set up a poll here. Okay, anybody got any ideas? Okay, I'm thinking either we'll continue with Enoch, or we'll talk about the dietary laws would be one thing. Another one would be talk about the feasts of the Lord. Another one would be end times. We can talk about the spiritual world, spiritual warfare. We can talk about errors in the Bible. Anybody got any more? Let's see. All right. Okay. So you can vote on this poll by putting in any of these. I'm just setting it up here for. There's 6 choices. Okay. There are the choices, folks. And there's the poll. You can vote for any of these by just putting the hashtag in the live chat. Just put, if you want to just continue with Enoch for tomorrow, Unbroken, we'll just do hashtag Enoch. If you want to talk about the feasts of the Lord, put hashtag feasts or hashtag diet as the dietary laws of God, hashtag end times, hashtag spiritual warfare, hashtag Bible errors. Any one of you, if you would like to, you can vote on that. Okay, we got Enoch voted end times. Chipmunk says go on with Enoch. Let me know, guys. You can vote on this by just by putting any one of these choices in the live chat for tomorrow. What should we do tomorrow, Sunday? Enoch, the feasts of God, the dietary law of God, end times, spiritual warfare, or Bible errors. Let me know, guys, in the live chat what you would like to do. So all of you, you can just vote by putting any one of those options in the live chat. All right. Give me a few minutes, guys. In the meantime, if you could vote, that would be great. Give me a few minutes. I'll be right back. Thank you guys for your patience. Appreciate that. All right. Thank you guys for voting. I'll leave that up for a little while so y'all can still vote here. Okay, so let's get back to the reading, and you know what I should do? What I'll do here is I'll put the poll as well on the reading page. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so here we are, folks. Richard Laurence, chapter 75, that is. Verse 1, at the extremities of the earth I beheld 12 gates open for all the winds from which they proceed and blow over the earth. R.H. Charles says, Hold on a second. Okay, so the RH Charles will be 76 instead of 75. At the ends of the earth I saw 12 portals open to all the quarters of heaven, from which the winds go forth and blow over the earth. The ends of the earth I saw 12 portals, 12 gates of heaven, from which the winds go forth and blow over all the earth. Okay, so that pretty much the same. Verse 2, Richard Laurence. We'll take this bite at a time here. 3 of them are open in the front of heaven, 3 in the west, 3 on the right side of heaven, and 3 on the left. R.H. Charles, 3 of them are open on the face, that is the east of the heavens, 3 in the west, 3 on the right, that would be the south of heaven, and 3 on the left, that would be the north. That's interesting. So it's facing the east. The first are those, this is Richard Laurence, which are towards the east, 3 towards the north, 3 behind those which are upon the left towards the south, and 3 on the west. R.H. Charles, the 3 first are those of the east, and 3 are of the north, and 3 after those on the left of the south, and 3 of the west. Thank you, Sion, for the likes over there on TikTok. Appreciate that. Richard Laurence, verse 3. From 4 of them proceed winds of blessing and of health. R.H. Charles, through 4 of these come winds of blessing and prosperity. So prosperity instead of health here in the R.H. Charles. Richard Laurence, from 8 proceed winds of punishment, which when they are sent to destroy the earth and the heaven above it, all its inhabitants, and all which are in the waters or on dry land. Richard Laurence says, and from those 8 come hurtful winds. When they are sent, they bring destruction on all the earth and on the water upon it, and upon all who dwell thereon, and on everything which is in the water, and on the land. Verse 4 of the Richard Laurence translation, the first of these winds proceeds from the gate termed the eastern, through the first gate on the east, and which includes southwards. From this goes forth destruction, drought, heat, and perdition. R.H. Charles, from the first wind from those portals, called the east wind, comes forth through the first portal which is in the east, inclining towards the south. From it comes forth desolation, drought, heat, and destruction. So perdition in the Richard Laurence, destruction in the R.H. Charles. Richard Laurence in verse 5, from the second gate, the middle one, proceeds equity. There issue from it rain, fruitfulness, health, and dew, and from the third gate northwards, proceed cold and drought. R.H. Charles, and through the second portal in the middle comes what is fitting, and from it there come rain and fruitfulness and prosperity and dew, and through the third portal which lies toward the north come cold and drought. Richard Laurence, After these proceed the south winds through 3 principal gates. Through the first gate, which inclines eastwards, proceeds a hot wind. It seems to me, folks, that what's going on here is that we have the descriptions of basically just the winds, So this would be in the northern hemisphere. So the winds of the south would be the warm winds. The winds of the north would be the cold winds. The winds from the east, according to this, brings destruction, drought, heat, and perdition. So basically, this is kind of like a very rough kind of weather not weather forecast, but almost like a meteorologist. Christian Live says hello, 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 welcome, and blessings to you over there on Kick. By the way, guys, if you haven't already, please vote. We are doing a poll here as to what we're going to do tomorrow. We're going to have the live chat open tomorrow, and you can vote for to continue with the Book of Enoch. Just put hashtag Enoch in the live chat, hashtag feast to talk about the feasts of the Lord, hashtag diet, hashtag end times, hashtag spiritual warfare, or hashtag Bible errors. Okay, which one would you rather hear? Which one would you rather do tomorrow? Just let me know by putting it in the live chat. Yeah, so Richard Laurence, chapter 75, verse 6, and these proceed the south winds through 3 principal gates. Through the first gate, which inclines eastward, proceeds a hot wind. So this would be like southeast. From the middle gate proceed grateful odor, dew, rain, health, and life. From the third gate, which is westwards, proceeds dew, rain, blight, and destruction. So it's very humid. So this would be like, assuming it's like the Middle East, so this would be like from the Mediterranean Sea. R.H. Charles. And after these come forth the south winds through 3 portals. Through the first portal, through the first portal of them inclining to the east comes forth hot wind. And through the middle portal next to it comes forth fragrant smells, and dew and rain, and prosperity and health. And through the third portal lying to the west comes forth dew and rain, locusts and desolation. Locusts, it says here, and desolation. Richard Laurence, verse 9. After these are winds to the north, which is called the sea. They proceed from 3 gates. The first gate is that which is on the east, inclining southwards. From this proceed dew, rain, blight, and destruction. From the middle direct gate proceed rain, dew, life, and health. And from the third gate, which is westwards, inclines towards the south, proceed mist, frost, snow, rain, dew, and blight. There's a note here where it says the first gate, or it says the 7th gate in the notes. R.H. Charles says, and after these north winds from the 7th portal in the east come dew and rain, locusts, and desolation. From the middle portal in a direct direction, health and rain and dew and prosperity. And through the third portal in the west come cloud and hoarfrost and snow and rain and dew and locusts. Richard Laurence, verse 10, and after these in the fourth quarter are the winds to the west. From the first gate inclining northwards proceed dew, rain, frost, cold, snow, and chill. From the middle gate proceed rain, health, and blessing. In the R.H. Charles it says, and after these four are the west winds. So it doesn't say in the fourth quarter, and these in the fourth quarter are the winds to the west. It says after these four are in the west winds, are the west winds in R.H. Charles. Through the first portal adjoining the north come forth dew and hoarfrost and cold and snow and frost. From the middle portal come forth dew and rain and prosperity and blessing. And through the last portal which adjoins the south come forth drought and desolation and burning and destruction. And the 12 portals of the 4 quarters of the heaven are therewith completed, and all their laws, and all their plagues, and all their benefactions, which I have shown, which have I shown to you, my son Methuselah. So this would be Enoch speaking. Richard Laurence, and from the last gate which is southwards proceed drought, destruction, scorching, and perdition. And on account of 12 gates, the 4 quarters of heaven is ended. All their laws, all their infliction of punishment, and the health produced by them have I explained to you, my son Methuselah. In the note it says Enoch's son, Methuselah. And this is found in Genesis chapter 5, verse 21. Okay, folks, we'll do one more short chapter. We got 8 verses in the next chapter. If you haven't already, vote on the poll here by putting your vote in the live chat. You can, the purpose of the poll here, the question is, what should we do tomorrow at Sunday? Number 1 would be continue with Enoch. All right. So in order to vote that way, you just put hashtag Enoch in the live chat. You want to talk about the feasts of the Lord. Let's talk about the feasts of the Lord. Put hashtag feasts. Diet. You want to talk about the dietary laws of God. Hashtag diet. Hashtag end times. If you want to talk about the end times. Hashtag spiritual warfare. If you want to talk about spiritual warfare. Hashtag Bible errors, if you want to talk about Bible errors. And specifically, I just want to make it a little bit clearer here. When I mean Bible errors, I'm talking about clear errors. I'm not talking about contradictions. I'm talking about clear errors. Like, for example, the measurements of the basin that we have. The measurements as according to the scriptures are off. It's not mathematically correct. So that's what I mean by Bible errors. If you want to go through all the, well, I can't say all because there's a lot, but at least some of the major ones, just put Bible errors on there. So there you go, folks. If you haven't voted already, please vote. Any of you that are listening to this right now, live, vote. Hashtag Enoch, hashtag feast, hashtag diet, hashtag end times, hashtag spiritual warfare, or hashtag Bible errors. Put that in the live chat. Okay, next chapter, which is chapter 76 in the Richard Laurence and chapter 77 in the R.H. Charles version. Let's do the R.H. Charles first, and the first quarter is called the East because it is the first. You know, you think about this for a moment. You know, in the scriptures, it's like this. In the Book of Enoch here, of course, it's like this as well. It's like the east is like the head. I wonder if they had a map. I wonder if they would have the east at the top. I'm just wondering. You know, we're all used to having the north at the top, but that's not necessarily. I mean, where do you put up? Where do you put down? You know, it's all just relative. So I wonder if they had a map. I wonder if they would put the east at the top. And the north on the left, and the south on the right, and the west on the bottom. There's a question. In ancient days, did they put the east on the top of the map, meaning the west on the bottom and the north to the left side and the south to the right side? Did they ever do that? And if they did, what cultures or what times, periods, what places did that? That's a good question. Hello, Aaron over there on TikTok. Welcome and blessings. By the way, guys, we do this every single day. By the grace of God, we go live. We read through. We already read through the entire Bible at least once. In many places, we went a lot more than that. We read through the entire Bible. We're on our way through this the second time live, and we've read a lot of the extra biblical texts as well. We read some of the early church fathers. We read through the Didache a long time ago. We read some yesterday as well. We read Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews, from top to bottom. We have read through the Book of Enoch a number of times. This is I think it's the third time. We have read the book of Jasher as well, book of Jubilees. We've read some of the legends of the Jews, all that kind of stuff. So if you like ancient texts, if you like biblical texts, if you will, if you like reading through this stuff and discussing it in a matter-of-fact historical way, like putting aside dogma, putting aside denominations, if that's your thing, you're in the right place. Okay, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you're following. So, did you know, guys, did you know that it is a historical fact that maps did place the east at the top? Okay, apparently it was a common and significant practice, especially in Christian Europe during the Middle Ages. And this is where we get the word orient from, oriental. To orient the map means to align it with the east. Latin oriens means rising. So the oriental would mean the top of the map, which is the east. So when the map was east oriented, the bottom would be west, the left would be north, the right would be south. And there is a map by the name of Mappa Mundi, which actually has the east at the top. You guys know that? Mappa Mundi. M-A-P-P-A-M-U-N-D-I. So you might say, why is it that our maps today have north at the top? And there are several key reasons for that. Number one is the magnetic compass. Okay, the invention of the compass, the widespread adoption and of the magnetic compass in Europe around the 13th, 14th centuries made north a reliable and practical reference point for navigation. That's one reason. And then the age of exploration as well. Long sea voyages, they needed practical, consistent charts, and the compass made the north the most logical direction for standardization. And then also, King Ptolemy, historically speaking, they say that King Ptolemy was the one who really pushed it, that the north should be at the top. Chipmunk says, no wonder why I'm directional confused. My brain was just using old maps. There you go. All right, yeah. Okay, folks, as you can see, thank you, Chipmunk. As you can see, we got 3 topics all tying here, folks. So let me know, guys. You're listening to this in the live. You're listening to the live stream. If you are, if you will, come back tomorrow. This will be 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm not done yet, by the way, folks. But I'm just saying, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. That's New York time. If you can make it tomorrow, vote for in the live chat. Let me know what you want to talk about tomorrow. We can continue with the Book of Enoch. Just put #Enoch. If you want to talk about the feasts of the Lord, the meanings and all that kind of stuff and all the interpretations of it, just put #feasts. And if not, #diet or #end times, #spiritual warfare, #Bible errors. #diet, we'll talk about the dietary laws of God. Chipmunk says, what topic do you want, Christopher? Oh, there's so many. Thank you for asking, Chipmunk. I can do any of those. I'm fine with any of those topics, Chipmunk. Thank you for asking. Yeah, any of those topics are great. Anything like that. And another thing too, guys. I don't think some of you are not aware of this because maybe you're not listening during the weekdays. But we do have an integrated virtual audience concierge, if you will, in the live chat. It's an AI integrated AI chat, if you will. We call it Veritas, which means truth. You can conjure, if you will. You can activate Veritas by either mentioning Veritas or Veri, V-E-R-I, in the live chat. And you can ask it any question, and it will answer you. Ask it any question. You can greet it. You can ask it any questions, whatever you'd like to do. It should work in the live chat as we speak. All right, guys? Okay. So let's continue with reading chapter 70. No, this is 77 of the R.H. Charles version. It says the first quarter is called the East. Right? So again, the East would be the top of the map then. The first quarter is called the East because it is the first. The second, the South, because the Most High will descend there. So that would be on the right side of the map. Oh, we got Veritas's full responses over here on the left-hand side. Chipmunk asks, Very, tell us a Star Wars joke. Why did the stormtrooper buy an iPhone? Because he couldn't find the droid he was looking for. He couldn't find the droid he was looking for, so he bought an iPhone. Okay. Oh well, there you go. Chipmunk. Oh gosh, yeah. There you go. There you go. We got to have a good joke from Very. Yeah. Okay, the Most High will descend there in the south. Yea, There in quite a special sense, he who is blessed forever descend. Will he who is blessed forever descend? The south. Okay. In the Richard Laurence, it says, the first wind is called the eastern because it is first. The second is called the south because the Most High descends there, and frequently there descends he who is blessed forever. R.H. Charles, it's verse 2 here, R.H. Charles, it says, and the west quarter is named the diminished, because there all the luminaries of heaven wane and go down. In the Richard Laurence, it says, the western wind has a name of diminution, because there all the luminaries of heaven are diminished and descend. R.H. Charles, and the fourth quarter, named the north, is divided into three parts. The first of them is for the dwelling of men. The second contains the seas of water and the abysses and forests and rivers and darkness and clouds. And the third part contains the garden of righteousness. Wow. That would be the Garden of Eden, right? The Garden of Eden. Richard Laurence, the fourth wind, which is named the north, is divided into three parts, one of which is for the habitation of man, another for the seas of water with valleys, woods, rivers, shady places, and snow. The third part contains paradise. Yeah, you see? So there's another confirmation that the Garden of Eden was considered to be paradise. And you can take that, figuratively, literally, spiritually. Amazing. Okay, R.H. Charles, verse 4. I saw 7 mountains, higher than all the mountains which are on the earth, and there comes forth hoarfrost, and days, seasons, and years pass away. Richard Laurence, 7 mountains I beheld, higher than all the mountains of the earth, from which frost proceeds, while days, seasons, and years depart and pass away. Richard Laurence, verse 5, I saw 7 rivers on the earth, larger than all the rivers. One of them, coming from the west, pours its waters into the great sea. Richard Laurence, 7 rivers I beheld upon earth, greater than all rivers, one of which takes its course from the west into a great sea, its water flows. R.H. Charles, and these 2 come from the north to the sea and pour their waters into the Erythraean Sea in the east. Richard Laurence, the 2 come from the north to the sea, their waters flowing into the Erythraean Sea on the east. Now it says here the Erythraean Sea is the Red Sea in the notes. R.H. Charles, and the remaining 4 come forth on the side of the north to their own sea, 2 of them to the Erythraean Sea. Richard Laurence, it says 7 great islands I saw in the sea and on the earth, 7 in the great sea. R.H. Charles, and 2 into the great sea and discharge themselves there, and some say into the desert. 7 great islands I saw in the sea and in the mainland. 2 in the mainland and 5 in the great sea. Okay, folks. All right. So, yeah, so I'm going to stop there, and we will continue with reading, starting with chapter 78, 77 in 70. Wait a second. Okay, there's a typo here. I was looking at this. It's like this says 77, but we just read 77, but 78 up here. So this is weird. Yeah, because we just read 77 here, and then the very next chapter here it says 77 again, but it is 78 in the Richard or the R.H. Charles, but it will be 77 in the Richard Laurence. Okay, so next time we'll do that. One last chance for you guys to vote on what we're going to do tomorrow: the Book of Enoch, the Feasts of the Lord, the Dietary Law of God, the End Times, Spiritual Warfare, or Bible Errors. Bible errors meaning scientific or mathematical Bible errors. I'm not talking about just simply like subjective Bible contradictions. No, I'm talking about objective, provable Bible errors. Which one do you want to do tomorrow, guys? Leave this in the live chat. Leave hashtag Enoch, hashtag the feast, hashtag diet, hashtag end times, hashtag spiritual warfare, or hashtag Bible errors to let me know which ones you would like to do. Because right now we got three topics all tied. If it remains a tie, what I'm going to do, and I do also take into consideration especially when it remains a tie like this, I do take into consideration the membership status as well. Okay, those of you who are members, your vote in this case would count more. Considering the level of support as well. Okay, guys, so the idea is tomorrow we're going to have the live chat open, and the reason being is just to give a little bit more of a window for those who are maybe curious, those who want to test the waters a little bit more, and when it comes to the live chat before they become a member. If you haven't yet subscribed and followed or followed, please do that. We do this every single day. Okay, so make sure you're subscribed and follow. Make sure you don't lose me. If you have been here for a little while and you say, you know what, Christopher, there's value here. I've learned some things here. Consider becoming a member. You can do that by on YouTube. Clicking the join button underneath, or clicking the join the channel in the live chat, or in the description, excuse me. You can also go to Subscribestar. There's a link to our Subscribestar page in the description, and you can help support the channel that way as well. Or you can do it through PayPal. We got a PayPal address as well in the description, on YouTube, on BitChute, on Rumble, on Facebook. All right. All right, guys. So I'll give you guys like one more minute, guys, to vote here, and then if whatever the case is, I'll let you know what we're doing here tomorrow. Just before we sign off, I'll let you know what the verdict is. Chipmunk says, thank you for a wonderful study. Such an interesting book. Good rest to you, Christopher, and all. Many blessings and prosperity to all. Thank you very much, Chipmunk. Thank you as well. Blessings multiplied to you and yours. And good rest to you as well. He gives his beloved sleep. And great prosperity as well, multiplied to you. Next, let me think now. Let me see. Where are we here? not next week, but almost 2 weeks from now. It'll be Thursday, September 18th. There's 16 days. No, excuse me. What am I doing here? 12 days. 12 days from now, we are going to have a fast. We're going to do a group fast like we did several months ago, 3-day fast. So, I'm calling y'all to fast with me. We are going to, I'm specifically going to go on a water fast. I may drink a little bit of electrolytes as well in the meantime, just to keep everything all kosher. But yes, please join me and fast if you can. Do not fast unless you ask your doctor first. I need to say that because I don't want anybody to hurt themselves. I know that some people are not able to fast because of medical reasons. Please check with your doctor before you fast. What I mean by fast is abstain from eating. If you cannot fast for medical reasons, then I would encourage you to fast something other than food. You can do any kind of pleasure. You can fast any kind of pleasure that you have. Maybe maybe this is like pretty much a weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Maybe, I don't know what it is. Maybe there's something you do every Friday that is, that is to you, it's something that you like to do. It's a pleasure or something like that. Well, if you can't fast food, fast that. Or you can ask God, Father, what would you like me to fast? What would you like me to fast? What kind of pleasure should I deny myself of during those 3 days? It's already scheduled on YouTube to begin on the 18th. So it'll be a 3-day fast beginning September 18th, 2025. I'm going to do regular live streams during the time. That'll be 7:30 on Thursday, September 18th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. That's New York time. 7:30 again on Friday, September 19th, and 2 p.m. again on Saturday, September 20th. And we'll do something special for that, We'll see. Lord willing, we'll be done the Book of Enoch then, and we'll do something special on those days for our fast days. Okay, so I'm going to take the poll down. Thank you guys for voting. I appreciate that. What I'm going to do then tomorrow is I am going to speak about the spiritual realm, how demons and angels work, spiritual warfare. Guys, we'll talk about that tomorrow, Lord willing. And for those, you might say, "Oh, I want to talk about something else." Well, we got another Sunday. We can do something else on another Sunday. I think it's very important as well to talk about spiritual warfare, especially in this day and age and what's going on Earth today, how the spiritual realm works, how to win, how to activate angels and deactivate demons in your life. We'll talk about all that tomorrow evening, Lord willing. All right, guys. Seek the Lord says, thank you for your time, brother. God bless you and all here richly and abundantly. See you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Seek the Lord. God bless you more. Multiplied back to you and your family. Okay, guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow. 7:30 p.m. Eastern, that's 7:30 p.m. New York time. Keep on calling on Him. Call upon Him, and He will show you great and mighty things that you don't know, Jeremiah 33:3. Love you guys. You guys are amazing. World changers. Good health and long life to you. I pray the Lord bless you and keep you. Make His face to shine upon you. Lift up His countenance upon you and give you wonderful, wonderful shalom. Amen. Amen. We'll see you guys tomorrow.